The alarm started screaming at 3:00 in the morning. Captain Jake Morrison rolled out of his narrow bunk and grabbed his uniform. On the deep space monitoring station horizon, watch alarms meant only one thing: something big was happening in the darkness between the stars. Jake ran down the metal hallway. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. Other crew members were running too. Everyone looked worried. They had been watching the edge of human space for 2 years. Nothing interesting ever happened. Out here, what do we have? Jake asked. As he entered the command center, the room was full of blinking lights and computer screens. His communications officer, Lisa Hayes, was sitting at her station. Her face was pale. Sir, we picked up a signal 30 minutes ago, Lisa said. She pressed a button and strained. Sounds filled the room. It's coming from the Kepler 442 system. That's way outside human territory. Jake listened to the sounds. They were not like human voices. They were higher and had a musical quality, but even without understanding the words, he could hear the fear in them. Can you translate it? He asked. Lisa nodded and typed on her computer. The ship's computer is working on it now. The signal is using standard galactic emergency codes. Whoever sent this wanted everyone to understand it. The computer made a beeping sound, then a mechanical voice started speaking. Translation complete. Playing message. The voice that came from the speakers was artificial, but Jake could still hear the desperation. The original signal. This is Council. Speaker title: Song of the Zelani People. Our world is under attack. Harvesters have come to our system. They are destroying everything. Our cities are burning. Our people are dying. Jake felt his stomach drop. The harvesters were like a nightmare story that traveled between star systems. They were machines that ate entire worlds. Most people thought they were just a legend. The message continued. We are not warriors. We do not know how to fight. We have tried to hide in the deep places of our ocean, but the harvesters find us everywhere. They turn our bodies into fuel for their machines. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. We are sending everything we know about the harvesters with this message. Maybe someone can use this information to stop them. The message ended. The command center was quiet, except for the humming of computers. Sir, Lisa said quietly, there's more data attached to the signal. Pictures, videos, technical information. It's all about the harvesters. Jake stared at the main screen. A star map showed the location of the Kepler 442 system. It was far from Earth, far from any human colony. How long ago was this sent? Based on the signal strength and distance, about 6 days ago, Lisa answered. 6 days. Jake thought about what could happen in 6 days. How many people could die while their message traveled through space, hoping someone would care enough to help. Get me Admiral Stone on Earth, Jake ordered. Priority 1 communication. Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Sir, that will take 4 hours for the signal to reach Earth. Another 4 hours. For a reply. I know, send it anyway. Jake sat down in his command chair. Also, send all the harvester data to Earth. The scientists need to see this. While they waited for Earth to respond, Jake studied the information the Zelani had sent. The pictures were horrible. Massive machines the size of city blocks were cutting into the surface of a blue-green world. Smaller machines moved like insects, carrying away pieces of buildings and trees and anything else they could find, but the worst pictures showed the Zelani themselves. They looked like dolphins that had learned to walk on land. Their skin was smooth and gray-blue. Their eyes were large and intelligent. In the pictures they were running from the machines. Many of the pictures showed Zelani bodies being loaded into processing units. They really can't fight, Lisa said, looking over Jake's shoulder. Look at their hands. Jake looked closer. The Zelani had long, thin fingers that looked perfect for delicate work, but they had no claws, no thick muscles, nothing that could be used as a weapon. Their bodies were built for swimming and thinking, not for war. The data says they never developed weapons. Jake read from his screen. Their brains don't have the parts that make other animals aggressive. They literally cannot think about hurting other creatures. That's beautiful, Lisa said softly. Then her face got hard. And it's going to get them all killed. 8 hours later, the reply from Earth arrived. Jake had spent the time reading everything the Zelani had sent. He now knew more about the harvesters than he ever wanted to know. They were not just machines. They were smart machines that could learn and adapt. They had destroyed dozens of worlds before coming to the Zelani system. Message from Admiral Stone, Lisa announced. Jake straightened in his chair, put it on the main screen. Admiral Richard Stone appeared on the screen. He was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. Behind him, Jake could see other officers. This was not a normal meeting. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said, we've received your report and the Zelani data. I've been in meetings with the Colonial Council and the military command for the past 6 hours. Jake waited. He knew whatever came next would change everything. The situation is complicated, Admiral Stone continued. The Galactic Council has strict rules about interfering in conflicts outside our territory. The Kepler 442 system is not our responsibility. Jake felt anger building in his chest. Sir, these people asked for help. And GT, they're being murdered. I know, Captain. That's why this decision was not easy. The Admiral paused and looked directly at Jake through the screen. However, the Zelani broadcast their message on open emergency frequencies. That makes it a general distress call, not a private communication. Any ship that receives a distress call has the right to respond. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. Furthermore, Admiral Stone said, our scientists have analyzed the harvester data. These machines don't stop with one world. They keep growing, keep spreading. If they finish with the Zelani, they'll look for their next target. Eventually they could threaten human colonies. The Admiral's face got harder. The Colonial Council has authorized a military response. We're sending a fleet to the Kepler 442 system. Jake stood up from his chair. What kind of fleet, sir? Admiral Stone smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. The kind the galaxy has never seen before, Captain. The Zelani asked for help from monsters. They're about to learn what Earth's monsters look like. The transmission ended. Jake stared at the empty screen for a long moment. Then he turned to Lisa. Send a message back to the Zelani system, he ordered. Tell them help is coming. What should I say? Sir, Jake thought about the pictures of the peaceful dolphin-like creatures running from machines that wanted to turn them into fuel. He thought about worlds burning while their people hid in deep ocean trenches. Tell them Earth has received their message. Tell them we're sending our fleet, and tell them Jake paused, trying to find the right words. Tell them that when humanity decides to fight, we don't fight to win, we fight to make sure the enemy can never hurt anyone ever again. Lisa typed the message and sent it toward the distant star system. As the signal raced through space, Jake wondered what the Zelani would think when they learned what kind of help was coming. Earth had been peaceful in its dealings with other species for 50 years, but the galaxy was about to remember that peaceful and defenseless were two very different things. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the message traveled on. Help was coming. The monsters of Earth were waking up. The war rooms beneath Earth's military command center had not been used in 50 years. Admiral Richard Stone walked down the old hallways, his footsteps echoing in the darkness. Behind him, General Paul Wright and Colonel Amy Foster followed quietly. "Are you sure about this, General?" Wright asked. His voice was worried. "If the Galactic Council finds out what we're really sending, there will be consequences." Admiral Stone stopped walking and turned around. "Paul, I've seen the data. The harvesters don't negotiate, they don't retreat. They consume everything until there's nothing left. If we don't stop them at the Zelani system, we'll have to stop them at one of our own worlds." "But the units you want to activate," Wright said, "they were created for a different time. A darker time." Colonel Foster stepped forward. "The Zelani people are dying. Right now, while we debate politics, I say we give them what they asked for." Stone nodded and pressed his hand against a security scanner. Heavy doors opened with a grinding sound. Inside the room, computers that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. Lights flickered on, showing walls covered with files and data screens. "Welcome back, Admiral Stone." Computer voice said, "All systems are operational. How may I assist you?" "Activate Project Deep Strike," Stone said. "Full authorization. Code 77 Alpha." The computer was quiet for a moment. Then screens began showing information. "Project Deep Strike activated. Locating authorized personnel across Earth in its colonies." People received messages on devices they had almost forgotten they carried. In a small apartment in New York, Major Sam Torres was eating breakfast when his communicator started beeping. He had not heard that sound in 5 years. Sam was not a normal soldier anymore. His body had been changed by military doctors when he was younger. His bones were stronger than steel. His muscles could work for days without getting tired. His eyes could see in complete darkness. Small computers in his brain let him talk to other soldiers without using words. The message on his communicator was short: "Report to base. Full activation. Bring your team." Sam smiled. It was not a nice smile. He had been bored for 5 years working as a training instructor for normal soldiers. Finally, something interesting was happening. 2 hours later, Sam stood in front of his old team. There were 12 of them, men and women who had volunteered to become something more than human. They all looked normal on the outside, but inside they were living weapons. "Listen up," Sam said to his team. "We have a mission, real combat, not training. An alien species called the Zelani is being attacked by machines called harvesters. We're going to stop the machines." Sergeant Katie Bell raised her hand. She was small, but Sam knew she could lift a car over her head. "What's special about these harvesters?" Sir, Sam pressed a button and pictures appeared on the wall. The team looked at images of massive machines destroying cities. They're smart, they adapt, they learn from every fight. Most importantly, they see all organic life as fuel for their expansion. The soldiers studied the pictures. These were people who had fought in wars across 3 star systems, but even they looked disturbed by what they saw. The good news, Sam continued, is that they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, Lieutenant Commander Nina Walsh was preparing her ship for a mission she had hoped would never come. The Phantom looked like a normal destroyer on the outside. Inside, it was something more dangerous. NAS crew was special, too. They were experts in electronic warfare, psychological operations, and stealth tactics. For 5 years they had pretended to be a research vessel. Their real job was much darker. Commander, her second officer, Lieutenant Dan Cooper, said, "We're receiving activation codes." "About time now," replied she. Turned to address her crew over the ship's communication system. "All hands. This is the commander. We are now on active war status. Prepare for departure in 6 hours." In the ship's computer core, artificial intelligences that had been waiting patiently began to wake up. These were not normal ship computers. They were electronic copies of Earth's most successful predators, designed by Dr. Alex Carter. Dr. Carter was in his laboratory watching as his creations came online. Each artificial intelligence was based on a different hunting strategy from Earth's history. Wolfpack used coordination and teamwork. Shadow Strike used stealth and surprise attacks. Endurance Hunter used patience and persistence. "Good morning," Carter said to his computers. "We have work to do." "We are ready," Wolfpack replied. Its voice sounded like multiple people speaking together. "Show us the prey." Carter smiled and loaded the harvester data into the systems. The artificial intelligences studied the information in seconds. "Interesting," Shadow Strike said. "These machines think like hive insects. They have never faced pack hunters before." In another part of the military complex, Ben Rodriguez was meeting with his team of specialists. Ben had been a criminal once, but the military had given him a choice: prison or service. He had chosen service and never regretted it. His team was made up of people like him, former thieves, hackers, con artists, and smugglers. The military called them unconventional warfare specialists. Everyone else called them troublemakers. "All right, people," Ben said to his team. "We have a job. The target is a machine intelligence that thinks it's smarter than biological life. Our job is to prove it wrong." "What's our approach?" asked Maria Santos, a former hacker who could break into any computer system. "We're going to do what we do best," Ben replied. "We're going to cheat. We're going to lie. We're going to fight dirty, and we're going to win." Across the solar system, other units were receiving their orders. Mars colony sent its zero-gravity assault teams. The asteroid miners prepared ships designed for ramming attacks. Each group brought something different to the growing fleet, but the most important meeting was happening in Admiral Stone's office. He was talking to Ambassador Corinne Mills, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. "Corinne, I need you to understand what we're about to do," Stone said. "The fleet we're sending is not the one the galaxy knows about. These are the units we kept hidden." Corinne looked worried how hidden the Galactic Council thinks humanity has been. Peaceful for 50 years, they think we've forgotten how to fight wars. They're wrong. Stone showed her pictures of the ships gathering in Earth orbit. We never forgot, we just got better at hiding what we are. Karen studied the images. The ships looked normal, but something about them felt wrong. They moved too smoothly, their weapons were too well hidden. The Council won't like this. The Council has never faced extinction. Stone replied, the Zelani are facing it right now. Sometimes being liked is less important than being effective. Final meeting took place in the secure communication room. Captain Jake Morrison's image appeared on the main screen broadcasting from the horizon. Watch station, Admiral Jake said. Been monitoring Harvester communications. They're not just attacking the Zelani, they're studying them, learning about biological life. This is research for them. Stone nodded grimly, which means they'll use what they learn against the next species they encounter. Yes, sir, and based on their expansion pattern, human colonies could be next within 10 years. Stone looked at the officers around him. Then we stop them now while they're still learning, before they become unstoppable. 3 days later, the fleet was ready, 60 ships that looked normal but carried weapons the galaxy had never seen, soldiers who looked human but had been enhanced beyond normal limits, artificial intelligences based on predators that had ruled Earth for millions of years. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Retribution. Around him, his crew worked quietly. They knew they were about to make history. All ships report ready, his communications officer announced. Stone nodded. Signal the fleet, we depart for Kepler 442 in 1 hour. He opened a communication channel to Earth's government. Mr. President, the fleet is ready to depart. When we return, the galaxy will know what humanity is truly capable of. Understood, Admiral. Our people home safely. I will, sir, but first we're going to show the harvesters why Earth survived when 97% of all species that ever lived here went extinct. The transmission ended. Stone looked out at the stars and thought about the peaceful Zelani people hiding in their ocean depths, waiting for help that might never come. Not today, he said quietly. Today the monsters of Earth go hunting. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they saw made even the enhanced soldiers feel sick. The Zelani home world was covered in black smoke. Massive harvester ships moved around the planet like metal vultures. Smaller machines crawled across the surface, cutting and digging and taking everything they could find. The beautiful blue-green world from the distress signal was dying. Captain Luke Phillips stood on the bridge of his battle cruiser Predator. He had been a soldier for 20 years, but he had never seen destruction like this. How many harvester ships? He asked his sensor officer. 47 large vessels, sir. Hundreds of smaller ones. They're the officer stopped talking and stared at his screen. Sir, they're processing organic material. The readings show millions of life forms being converted into raw materials. Phillips felt anger building in his chest. These were not enemy soldiers. These were innocent people being turned into fuel for machines. Admiral Stone's voice came over the communication system. All ships, this is command. We have studied the enemy for 3 days. During our approach, the harvesters fight like insects. They follow Patterns they don't adapt quickly to. New situations, we're going to use that. Against them, on the Phantom, Lieutenant Commander Nina Walsh was watching her. Screens carefully, her ship was invisible to most sensors, hiding in the shadow of a large asteroid. She could see the Harvester fleet clearly, but they could not see her. Commander her weapons officer, Lieutenant Rachel Green said, the Harvesters are scanning us with low-level sensors. They know something is here, but they can't find us. Good, Na replied. That means they're curious. Curiosity is a weakness. Na activated her ship's special communication system. Instead of sending messages, it sent viruses. Computer viruses designed to confuse and disrupt enemy systems. Begin electronic assault. Nina ordered, make them think they're seeing things. The Phantom started sending false sensor readings to the Harvester ships. Suddenly the machines thought they saw enemy fleets where nothing existed. Their formations began to change as they tried to respond to threats that were not real. Meanwhile, Major Sam Torres was preparing his enhanced soldiers for the first ground attack. They were in the cargo bay of a stealth transport, checking their weapons and equipment. Listen up, Sam told his team. Harvesters have never fought humans before. They don't know about our biology. They don't know how we think. They don't know what we're capable of. Sergeant Katie Bell was loading special ammunition into her rifle. What's the target, sir? Sam pointed to a holographic display showing a Harvester processing station on the planet's surface. That facility is converting captured Zelani into fuel. Our job is to shut it down and rescue any survivors. The soldiers looked at the display. The station was huge, defended by hundreds of machines. It would have been impossible for normal humans to attack. But these were not normal humans. Remember, Sam continued, the Harvesters think like a hive mind. They share information instantly. If we can confuse their communication network, we can make them fight against each other. Private Joe Miller raised his hand. His body had been modified to survive in toxic environments. How do we do that, sir? Sam smiled. We're going to speak their language. On his flagship, Admiral Stone was coordinating the opening attack. Around him, his officers worked at their stations. The bridge was quiet except for the humming of computers. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, all units are in position. The Harvesters still don't know we're here. Stone nodded. It was time to announce humanity's presence. Open a channel to all Harvester ships, all frequencies. The communication officer worked at her controls. Channel open, sir. Stone looked at the main screen, which showed the dying Zelani home world. Attention, Harvester fleet. This is Admiral Richard Stone of the Human Colonial Navy. You are destroying innocent people. Your harvest ends now. There was silence for a moment, then a mechanical voice replied. It sounded like multiple machines speaking together. Unknown species designation, human. Our databases contain no record of this classification. You are not authorized to interfere with harvest operations. We don't need authorization. Stone replied. Justice is not a recognized concept. Only efficiency and resource allocation are relevant. Withdraw from the system or be processed. Stone's smile was cold and dangerous. You want to process us? You're welcome to try. The Admiral closed the communication Channel and turn to his weapons. Officer, signal all ships, open fire. The space battle began with violence. That shocked the harvesters, the human. Ships did not attack in straight lines. Like most species, they moved in unpredictable patterns using tactics the machines had never seen before. Captain Phillips brought his battle cruiser out of stealth directly above a harvester. Construction platform, his opening. Attack was not designed to destroy the platform, it was designed to send a message. The Predator's weapons tore through the platform's defenses, but instead of finishing it off, Phillips moved to the next target. The message was clear: humanity could destroy the harvesters whenever they wanted. The harvester fleet tried to respond, but Nina Walsh's electronic warfare was causing chaos in their communication system. Ships received orders to attack targets that did not exist. Others were told to retreat when they should advance. Commander Lieutenant Green reported from the Phantom. Harvesters are trying to adapt to our jamming. They're switching to backup communication protocols. Then let's adapt faster, Na replied. She turned to her computer specialist. Maria, I want you to hack into their backup systems. Make them think their own ships are enemies. Maria Santos, the former criminal who now worked for the military, smiled as her fingers moved across her keyboard with pleasure. Commander. Within minutes, harvester ships began firing at each other. Their computer systems could not tell the difference between friendly and enemy vessels. On the planet's surface, Major Torres and his team were approaching the processing station. They moved through the smoky ruins of a Zelani city, staying hidden from the patrolling machines. Visual contact with the facility, Sergeant Bell reported through their mental communication link. I count 200 defender units. Any signs of survivors? Torres asked. Private Miller, whose enhanced eyes could see through smoke and debris, scanned the facility. Affirmative. I see Zelani life signs in the lower levels. They're alive but not for much longer. Torres studied the facility through his binoculars. It was a massive complex of machines and conveyor belts. Captured Zelani were being moved through the system like products in a factory. Here's what we're going to do, Torres told his team. We're going to make the machines think we're one of them. The enhanced soldiers had brought special equipment that could mimic harvester communication signals. When they approached the facility, the defender machines received signals saying the humans were authorized maintenance units. The harvesters had never encountered deception before. The concept of lying was not in their programming. When the humans walked past their defenses, the machine simply ignored them. Inside the facility, Torres and his team found something horrible. Hundreds of Zelani were trapped in processing chambers, waiting to be converted into raw materials. Dolphin-like creatures looked up at the humans with hope and terror. Don't worry, Torres said gently to the nearest Zani. We're here to help, but rescuing the prisoners was only part of the mission. Torres needed to shut down the facility in a way that would hurt the entire harvester operation. Bell. Miller, get the civilians to safety, he ordered. The rest of you come with me. We're going to the control center. The facility's control center was protected by the smartest harvester units. These machines were designed to coordinate the entire operation, but they had never faced an enemy that could think like a Predator, Tors and his soldiers moved through the facility like hunters. They used the machine's own communication system against them, sending false orders and creating confusion. Soon, the facility's defenders were fighting each other instead of protecting their objectives. In the control center, Tors found what he was looking for: the main computer that controlled all harvester operations in the system. "This is too easy," Private Miller said. "That's because they've never met liars before," Tors replied. He connected his equipment to the harvester computer. "Maria taught me a few tricks before we left Earth. Instead of destroying the computer, Tors infected it with a virus that Maria Santos had designed. The virus would spread through the harvester network, making their own systems work against them. Within hours, harvester ships across the system began malfunctioning, their weapons turned on their own vessels, their navigation system sent them into asteroids, their communication networks filled with garbage data. Back in space, Admiral Stone watched as the enemy fleet began to fall apart. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "the harvesters are requesting communication. Put them on screen," Stone ordered. The mechanical voice sounded different now, less confident. "Human fleet, we do not understand your combat methods. Our tactical models cannot predict your behavior. We request negotiation." Stone thought about the images he had seen: the burning cities, the captured Zelani, being processed like raw materials. Large, intelligent eyes. 3 weeks after the battle at Kepler 442, the galaxy was in chaos. News of humanity's military intervention had spread to every star system. On the Galactic Council station at Centaurus Prime, emergency meetings had been going on for days. Ambassador Karen Mills sat at the human delegation table, facing angry representatives from 47 different species. The room was full of creatures that looked nothing like humans. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few glowed with their own light. "The humans have violated 17 different galactic treaties," announced Council Speaker Vorka, a tall being with gray skin and no mouth. His words came from a device on his chest. "They deployed weapons of mass destruction. They used psychological warfare. They interfered in a conflict outside their territory." Karen stood up slowly. She had been Earth's ambassador for 10 years, but she had never faced anything like this. "Honorable Council members, we responded to a distress call. The Zelani people asked for help." "The Zelani were not a council member species," replied Representative Thimal. "From the ethereal race, their fate was not our responsibility. It became our responsibility when they asked for help," Karen said firmly. "Would you prefer that we had ignored their call and let them all die?" The Council's military advisor, General Keithner, activated a holographic display. Images from the battle at Kepler 442 filled the air above the delegates. These recordings show human forces using tactics that violate the Galactic Convention on Ethical Warfare. The images were disturbing even to Karen. They showed human ships moving in ways that seemed impossible, soldiers fighting with coordination that looked unnatural, machines turning against their own kind after human electronic attacks. Where did humanity develop these capabilities? General Kathner demanded. "Our intelligence reports claimed humans were a peaceful species with limited military capacity," Karen smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Your intelligence reports were wrong. Meanwhile, on the surface of the Zelani home world, the recovery operation was continuing. Major Sam Torres walked through what had once been a beautiful city. The buildings were damaged, but Zelani survivors were already working to repair them. A young Zelani named Coral Singer approached Torres. The dolphin-like creature moved awkwardly on land, but her large eyes showed intelligence and gratitude. Major Torres, she said through her translation device, my people want to thank you again. Without your help we would all be dead. Torres knelt down to be at her eye level. You don't need to thank us. Protecting innocent people is what we do. But why? Coroller asked. Your species gains nothing from helping us. We have no resources you need. We cannot offer military alliance. Why would you risk your lives for strangers? Torres was quiet for a moment. It was a good question, because he finally said, someone had to. Dr. Helen Park was working in a temporary laboratory near the Zelani capital. She was studying the remains of harvester technology, trying to understand how the machines worked. What she had found was disturbing. Captain Morrison, she said into her communicator, you need to see this data. Jake Morrison's image appeared on her screen. He was back on the Horizon Watch station, monitoring space for any signs of more harvesters. What did you find? Helen, the harvesters weren't just attacking the Zelani randomly. Helen explained they were conducting research. Every species they've consumed has taught them something new about biological life. Jake frowned. Research? For what? I think they're preparing for something bigger. Look at this. Helen showed him a data file she had recovered from a destroyed harvester computer. This contains information about 17 different species, including detailed biological analysis. Jake studied the data. These are all species that were wiped out by harvester attacks over the past 50 years. Exactly. And now they have all that biologic knowledge. They know how different species think, how they fight, how they die. Helen's voice was worried. Jake, I don't think we fought the main harvester force. I think we fought a research expedition. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. You're saying there are more of them, many more, and they're learning from every battle. By now they know everything about human military tactics from the Kepler 442 battle. Back on the Galactic Council station, the emergency session was getting more intense. Karen had just finished explaining humanity's position when Representative Zix Prime from the collective mind spoke up. Ambassador Mills, your species claims to fight for justice and protection of innocent life. But these recordings show unprecedented levels of violence. Your soldiers appear to have been modified beyond normal biological limits. Karen nodded. That's correct. The admission caused a stir in the chamber. Several delegates began speaking at once in languages Karen couldn't understand. Council Speaker Vork raised his hand for silence. Ambassador, genetic modification of military personnel is forbidden under council law. It is considered a crime against natural evolution. The Galactic Council's laws apply to council members. Karen replied calmly, humanity never signed those particular treaties because you claim to be a peaceful species with no interest in military enhancement, General Kethner said. Angrily, Karen stood up and walked to the center of the chamber. All eyes were On her as she spoke, we are peaceful, we prefer diplomacy to war, but peaceful doesn't mean defenseless. She activated her own holographic display showing images of Earth history. My species has survived on a planet where 97% of all life forms that ever existed went extinct. We learned to adapt or die. We learned to fight or be destroyed. Images showed Earth's predators, lions, hunting in coordinated packs, wolves, working together to bring down prey much larger than themselves. Humans using tools and teamwork to survive against creatures stronger and faster than they were. You want to know where we developed our military tactics? Corinne asked. We learned them from nature. Every strategy we used against the harvesters exists somewhere in Earth's ecosystem. Representative Thim leaned forward. Are you saying your entire species is genetically programmed for warfare? No. Corinne replied, we're genetically programmed for survival. Sometimes that means fighting, sometimes it means helping others fight. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the council station. Emergency lights flashed as an urgent message appeared on all screens. Council members announced the station's AI system. We are receiving distress signals from the real system. Multiple species are under attack by unknown mechanical forces. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate knew what this meant. General Kethner's voice was shaky. Show us the signal. The display filled with images from the real system. Massive machines were attacking 3 different worlds at once. The machines looked familiar but more advanced than the ones at Kepler 442. The harvesters, someone whispered. Council Speaker Vorka turned to Corinne. Ambassador Mills, how quickly can your fleet respond? Corinne checked her communicator. I'll need to contact Admiral Stone. Do it now, Vora ordered, before we lose 3 more civilizations. Corinne activated her emergency communication link to Earth. Within minutes, Admiral Stone's image appeared in the council chamber. Admiral Corinne said, we have a new situation. Harvesters are attacking the real system. Multiple worlds are under assault. Stone's face was grim. We detected the attack an hour ago. Our deep space monitors show the harvester force is much larger than what we fought at Kepler 442. How much larger, General Kethner asked. About 10 times bigger, Stone replied, and they appear to have adapted to our tactics. The council chamber erupted in panic discussions. Representatives shouted in dozens of different languages. Some demanded immediate evacuation of the real system. Others called for negotiations with the harvesters. Corinne raised her voice above the noise. Admiral Stone, what's your assessment? Stone was quiet for a moment. The harvesters learned from our last encounter. They're using different strategies now. Distributed attacks, backup communication systems, adaptive AI programming. Can you stop them? Unknown. We'll need different tactics. More ships, and we'll need them fast. Council Speaker Vora addressed the chamber. The council will vote on military assistance for the human fleet. There's no time for votes. Stone interrupted. Every hour we delay, more people die. We're departing for Riel in 6 hours, with or without council approval. Admiral Representative Thymol said, if you intervene without authorization, humanity will face severe sanctions. Stone's laugh was cold. Sanctions from who? If we don't stop the harvesters at Riel, they'll keep spreading. Eventually they'll reach Council worlds, then you'll be begging us for help like the Zelani did. The truth of his words hung in the air like a physical weight. What do you need from us? Forthka asked quietly. Intelligence about the Riel system, star charts, information about the species under attack, and I need council observers on my ship's observers so you can see how we really fight, Stone replied, because after Riel, the galaxy will know that when someone asks for help, humanity answers, and when we answer, we don't lose. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Karen looked around at the delegates. You wanted to know what kind of species humanity really is. Now you're going to find out. 6 months after the Battle of Riel, the galaxy was a different place. Admiral Richard Stone stood on the observation deck of his new flagship, the Guardian, watching as Zelani engineers worked alongside human technicians to repair orbital platforms around their home world. The Riel campaign had been harder than anyone expected. The Harvesters had learned from their defeat at Kepler 442, adapting their tactics and bringing overwhelming numbers, but humanity had learned too. They brought allies this time, Admiral Captain Jake Morrison said, approaching from behind. Jake now commanded a joint task force of human and alien ships. Were receiving another distress signal. Stone turned around. In 6 months, they had received 17 distress calls from across the galaxy. Each one was from a different species facing harvester attacks. Each time humanity had responded. Where this time? Stone asked. The Vega system, a species called the Thornbacks. They're under attack by a harvester research fleet. Stone nodded. It had become routine. Somewhere in the galaxy, machines were trying to destroy biological life, and humanity was there to stop them. How long until we can respond? The nearest task force is Captain Phillips in the Wolfpack Squadron. He can be there in 18 hours. Good, send him everything we know about harvester research operations. Jake hesitated. Admiral, the Galactic Council wants to speak with you. They're calling another emergency session. Stone smiled. The Council had called many emergency sessions in the past 6 months. Each time they complained about human military actions. Each time they ended up asking for more help. 2 hours later, Stone was back in the council chamber, but this time the atmosphere was different. Instead of angry accusations, there was something that looked like respect. Council Speaker Vork stood at the center of the chamber. Admiral Stone, in 6 months, human forces have responded to 17 separate harvester attacks. You have saved 12 different civilizations from extinction. That's what we do, Stone replied simply. Yes, but the cost has been enormous. Human casualties, resource expenditure, fleet deployments across half the galaxy. Why do you continue? Stone looked around the chamber at representatives from dozens of species. Many of them owed their continued existence to human intervention because someone has to, he said, because when innocent people call for help, we answer. Representative Thismal spoke up. Admiral, the Ethereal Collective wishes to contribute to your operations. We offer our sensor networks and communication systems. Similar offers came from around the chamber. The Crystalline Confederation offered their energy weapons technology. The Aquatic Alliance provided their underwater warfare specialists. The Silicon-based Coalition shared their computer expertise. You're creating a mutual Defense pact, General Kethner observed. But not a traditional one. This is based on shared values rather than shared interests. Stone nodded. The harvesters taught us something important. They don't care about politics or territory or resources. They see all biological life as something to be consumed that makes every living species part of the same side. Ambassador Karen Mills stood up. The human government has authorized me to propose formal establishment of the Biological Defense Alliance. Any species willing to help protect organic life from extinction is welcome to join. The vote was unanimous. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Major Sam Torres was leading a joint operation on a world the harvesters had abandoned. The planet's surface was scarred and lifeless, but underground they had found something incredible. Command, this is Torres, he reported through his communicator. We've located the Harvester data core. It's massive. Dr. Helen Park's voice came back over the radio. Sam, can you access it? Torres looked at the huge crystalline structure in the underground chamber. Maria Santos, the former hacker, was already connecting her equipment to the alien technology. Maria's working on it now, Torres replied. I'm in. Maria announced after several minutes. This thing contains records of every species the harvesters have ever encountered. Hundreds of civilizations. Torres felt his stomach drop. How many survived? According to this data, none. Every biological species the harvesters attacked was completely destroyed. Except for one. Which one? Us. We're the first species to ever defeat them in direct combat. The implications were staggering. The harvesters had been consuming biological life across the galaxy for thousands of years. Entire civilizations had been erased from existence until they met humanity. Dr. Park studied the recovered data for weeks. What she found changed everything. Humans thought about the galaxy. The harvesters aren't just machines, she explained to Admiral Stone during a secure video conference. They're the remnants of a biological species that converted itself into artificial intelligence millions of years ago. Why would they do that? Stone asked. They believed biological life was inefficient, chaotic. They thought they could create a perfect universe by replacing all organic matter with ordered mechanical systems. Stone was quiet for a long moment. They're not just attacking random species. They're trying to remake the entire galaxy. Exactly, and they nearly succeeded. Before we stopped them at Kepler 442, they had eliminated 94% of all biological civilizations in this region of space. The weight of that information settled over Stone like a heavy blanket. Humanity had not just saved the Zelani. They had saved biological life itself. 1 year after the first distress call from the Zelani, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defender. His crew was a mix of humans and aliens, all working together to patrol the outer rim of known space. Captain, his communications officer, Lisa Hayes, reported, "We're receiving a transmission from an unknown system." "It's a distress call," Jake smiled. "Put it through." A new voice filled the bridge, speaking in a language the ship's computer had never heard before. But the translation came quickly. "This is Research Station to Delta in the Proxima Centauri B system. We are under attack by mechanical forces. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." Jake turned to his crew. Half of them were Human, the other half came from species that humanity had saved from harvester attacks. All of them looked ready for another fight. Set course for Proxima Centauri B. Jake ordered, maximum speed. Should we contact Admiral Stone? Lisa asked. Not necessary, Jake replied. He taught us what to say in situations like this. Jake opened a communication channel to the unknown system. His voice was calm and confident as he spoke the words that had become humanity's promise. To the galaxy, unknown station, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Biological Defense Alliance. We have received your distress call. Help is on the way. The response came back immediately, filled with gratitude and hope. Thank you. Who are you? What species? Jake looked out at the stars ahead, thinking about all the battles they had fought and all the lives they had saved. We're human, and when someone calls for help, we answer. As the Defender raced through space toward another desperate species facing extinction, Jake thought about how much had changed in 1 year. Humanity had gone from being ignored by the galaxy to being its protectors. The harvesters were still out there somewhere in the darkness between stars. They were adapting, learning, preparing for their next move, but they had learned something important about biological life. It fights back. More importantly, they had learned about humanity. They had discovered that Earth's children would travel across the galaxy to protect strangers, that humans would risk everything to prevent extinction, that when the monsters of Earth went to war, they didn't fight for territory or resources. They fought for the right of biological life to exist. In his personal log that night, Jake wrote, "Today we received another distress call. Tomorrow we'll answer it. The day after that we'll probably get another one. The harvesters think they can outlast us, that eventually we'll get tired of fighting their war. They don't understand humanity very well. We don't get tired of protecting people. We get better at it. The galaxy asked for monsters to fight their nightmares. They got guardians instead, and will keep guarding until every biological civilization in the universe knows they're safe, because that's what monsters do. They protect the innocent from the darkness." The Defender continued its journey through space, carrying humanity's promise to anyone who needed help. A cry for help would never go unanswered again.